there is a team in the NFL that just signed their two star wide receivers to a combined deal worth $276 million over the next 4 years. This is the Cincinnati Bengals. They make history, making Jamar Chase signing a 4-year, $161 million deal. He becomes the highest paid non-QB in NFL history, and T. Higgins with a 4-year, $115 million contract extension. He becomes the highest paid wide receiver two in NFL history.
Two talented individuals in regards to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins will never take anything away from them. And a talented quarterback in Joe Burrow. Now, about 3 years ago, well, 4 years ago, this team went to the Super Bowl. Just young team, talented team, and whatnot. Now they have had major expectations since that Super Bowl berth. This past year, they broke so many offensive records between quarterback Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. Both of them, all of them competed very well, but the record was very, very, very counter of the success that these individuals had. Now, offense and defensively and special teams, there's three phases to the game. Offense, again, sells tickets. Offensive players, those are the pretty boys. I'm a defensive guy. I'm a safety / corner, defensive back. We like to get dirty. And in order for a team to really be a well-rounded team, you have to have a defense that's going to limit the opposing offense from scoring. They have invested so much money into their star offensive weapons that they don't have nothing on defense to really, again, they couldn't stop a fly. And it's very disappointing. I mean, in this day and in the game now, there's big money, and not to knock on anybody's pockets or count anybody's pockets, but yet we're getting away from the sense of why we play this game. We play this game to win championships. Now, the pay, yeah, you want to get paid too. Yet each year, each team is competing to be the final team standing to hold that Vince Lombardi trophy. The trophy that the Philadelphia Eagles just took home, that Jalen Hurts is finally a champion. Patrick Mahomes, 3-time champion. I can go on and on. The Tom Brady's of the world, the Peyton Mannings. You compete for a chance to win that Super Bowl and have bragging rights, to be a champion, because nobody can ever take the championship away from you. But I see a lot of guys are really, and teams are getting away from the aspect of building your team with, again, solid pieces offensively and defensively, and you're alluding, so much of your cap to just 1, 2, or maybe three players. In this case, you don't have nothing to spend on your defense, and you need a solid defense. You're going to be having shootouts every Sunday with teams with the hopes of, okay, maybe our defense can stop them on 1 3rd down and we can go down there and score. That's not how you win football games. That's a bad way and a bad formula to win football games. So, I mean, do T. Higgins and do Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow deserve these contracts? Yes, they do. My only question is, excuse me, what about the defensive side? What about the offensive linemen? What about your securing other areas where you need help at?
Now, per Fox Sports, I want to point this out. You went 9-8 in 2024. You were 1 game away from making the playoffs last season. You were number 9 at the end of the year in offense. But you were number 25 in defense when the end of the year was said and done. That's not a recipe for success.
Nope.
Think about it.
Nope.
When we do these mock drafts, Nate, the number one thing once we get to the bottom half is, what kept these teams from going farther in the playoffs? What was the position that prevented them from making the Super Bowl? This is the same equation and question you have to ask yourself when going into the next season. What prevented me from making the playoffs? It wasn't my $276 million wide receivers. They played fine. Your defense was ranked 25th in the entire
The defense was
country, in
trash.
the entire league. It was horrible. It was bad. By the grace of Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins, you scrunched out a 9-8 season and barely missed the playoffs. The question is, when are you going to invest in defense? You didn't do it in the free agency. Are you going to use your entire draft capital on defense this draft and have an entire young defense like the Lions, like the Jets? And we've seen those first year rookie defenses, experience takes hold. They don't have the experience to go far in the league. And we've seen it time and time again. This is not a recipe for success unless they are looking into the future and saying, hey, we just signed these guys for 4 years. We're going to have them for 4 years. Let's draft an all-out defensive draft in 2025. Maybe by the next couple of years, by the end of these guys' contracts, we'll be seeing ourselves in the Super Bowl again. If that does not happen, I would take the head of everybody in Cincinnati because this is not the way to run a football team. I'm going to tell you what. I know exactly how a football team shouldn't be ran because I'm a New Orleans Saints fan. I can tell you how to run a football team, and this is not it, Nate. You do not spend $276 million on 2 players, not only 2 offensive players, 2 players of the same position. You're not spreading the wealth at all. Guess what? You have the 25th ranked defense in 2024. Let's try 31. Let's try 32 because that's the place you're about to be in 2025, Cincinnati, because there's no hope for your defense right now. You didn't do anything in free agency. You still have the same bum defense. Trey Hendrickson, your only light on that side of the ball, is requesting a trade. Now you have to somehow find a way to get that defense in tip-top shape. And it's not going to happen in 2025. So don't get your hopes up, Cincinnati fans, because you just wasted all your money on 2 receivers. I love the fact that, hey, our offense did so good. Let's reward them for their efforts. But there's 2 sides of the ball, Nate. How in the world are you going to get into the playoffs? You went 9-8 and missed the playoffs because of your defense.
Yeah.
How in the world are you going to get to the playoffs when you did nothing on your defense in this free agency, in this offseason? As far as I'm concerned, the draft will not help your defense out whatsoever.
No, because, I mean, these players are still going to be young. You can't put that much on their plate because they got to get acclimated to the NFL game and the NFL system and whatnot. This is just, again, one of those situations where, you know, you may have a high-powered offense, but you're going to have shootouts every week. And with hopes of your defense can get a stop on a 3rd down or get a turnover and you win the shootout, but that's not how you win football games.
I mean, it's not. I mean, you've said it time and time again. Defense wins championships. You have to invest. The teams we've seen win Super Bowls are teams that have invested in defense. I mean, we go back to the Chicago Bears. We go back to those 80s teams, the early 2000s teams. I mean, shoot. There's teams that make a Super Bowl that we've never even seen or can fathom them making a Super Bowl before simply because of how well those defense. You want to try out Eli Manning beating Tom Brady twice? You want to know how he did it? He had a top defense.
Oh yeah, the defense
years.
won that defense won them that Super Bowl.
Exactly. As good as Eli Manning was, you could have had Jake Plummer throwing those guys the football and they still would have ended up in the Super Bowl because of how good that defense was. Defense wins championships. It gets you to where you need to go. Mm-hmm. We talk about time and time again, what do I need to do to get me farther into the season? I just missed the playoffs. What do I need to do to get me into the playoffs in 2025? And that question was not answered correctly this offseason. And drafting defense is not going to help you because the person I have you drafting in defense is going to help one level of your team, but it's not going to help all 3. Nate, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, you're spot on. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, like really is unfortunate, but you're just going to see the next season. Hopefully they can have a good year.
I
Hopefully
mean,
they
it's
come
gonna be
really good.
shootout. I mean, it's gonna be fun games to watch. We're
Yeah,
gonna
it's
see
gonna be
Joe
fun games
Burrow
to
throw for
watch.
500 yards.
But it's gonna be shootouts every game. It's gonna be shootouts.
This is a good note to put. I'm glad he put this. Yeah, shout out to him. 19 games, a team scored more than 38 points in multiple games with more than 50. No NFL defense should give up that many points that often. The
Nope.
Cincinnati Bengals, they gave up more than 35 points in 2024. That's horrible. That is horrible. If a team is scoring 5 possessions against you every single game, how in the world are you going to come back from that? That takes a miracle. If you are down 5 possessions, we haven't seen anybody come back from 5 possessions. If your offense is having an off day, well, shoot, you're losing that game because you are now investing and putting all your eggs in the basket in your offense. What in the world did I say about the Chicago Bears when they were drafting Caleb Williams? They were putting all their dang eggs in the basket on
Mm-hmm.
drafting Caleb Williams, and we saw exactly what happened this past year. I could have told you that the Bears were going to have another top 10 draft pick because they put all their eggs in the basket. Hopefully it changes out for a team like them. Nate, is there anything you could think the Bengals could do at this point in time to have a more successful 2025 year?
I mean, they're going to have to really get a good defensive coordinator, and he's going to have to work with what he has. To be honest with you, if Trey Hendrickson is traded, you really have to have a D coordinator that's going to come in and be able to really coach up a defense that doesn't have the weapons. Um, that's going to be able to put guys in the right position. That's going to be able to really get guys and put them in the right position and just really, again, try to get better on third down. I mean, limit the big plays that they've given up and just really limit all of the scoring drives and so forth. It's going to be interesting, but it can be done. Coaching doesn't play a big part in scheme of everything. So yeah.